Well, hello, welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. Now, as I posted on Facebook yesterday, I would be doing my monthly projection for August, and pretty much I've done the artwork for the thumbnail and everything, but something came up which is going to have me do that after this, which we'll post shortly after I post this. I just happened to be watching the iHip, one of their short news videos, and they brought up a very good point as far as the Epstein, all this Epstein thing is going on about. Now, this is something that the Democrats could really, really use to weaponize against the Republicans. And that that's something that they should have done in the 24 election. And although I agree, there is a part of me that's saying that there is a little bit of Monday night quarterbacking. And I want to look into that a little bit deeper. Now, of course, one reason would probably be is that some of their own are on that list, and I've heard things about Clinton, but the interesting thing is that all of these young ladies who were children at the time have been talking about Trump, and not really much of anybody else, but that's not to say that there aren't some coming up on the list. Now, Democrats have had a history of overreacting to something, and I remember particular senator from Minnesota who used to be on Saturday Night Live and did some little comedy film with someone who blew it out of proportion. And when you look at this in comparison to what videos must be in the Epstein archive, it was a big nothing burger, but he did fold, and I thought it was a mistake then. But it also illustrates that while Republicans of the MAGA, and even the regular Republicans, they always have a way of being apologists and excusing and this and that, which is wrong. It just, with this accumulates over the years. It's a really, really bad look. So the thing that that these ladies had to say yesterday, which is true, like, we have known about this for years, and why some people are like, oh, like this is big news. Well, as I've said in previous videos, like the nut jobs in QAnon who love their conspiracy theories, they've had their whole fantasy turned on its ear, which is the Hillary Clinton pizza parlor basement nonsense kind of a thing. And in fact, the said pizza parlor doesn't even have a basement. Okay. So their little fantasy world has been blown apart. So they're all in a disarray of disagreeing. And usually I pick one card for the thumbnail. But this is like one leads into another. And the funny thing is that, it just pops into my head, and then I do my artwork. And this one, I found the two cards were together in the same deck, and we have the predatory Knight of Cups in reverse. So it's the chivalrous knight that that is turned upside down. He lives in a fantasy world. He gloms onto, people obsessively and makes some big story up that it is not true. And that there is some, cups in reverse, deviance, mental illness, obsession. So following that, we have the Six of Cups here, as you can see. And I do not need to go into what this shows. But I've just, in fact, I was wondering with the YouTube thing, but I think, yeah, you really got to know tarot to understand. But at any rate, it's not only the fact that there are children in this, but it is going back to the past. Now, in going back to the past, some people would say, well, back in the 50s and 60s, this child molesting thing didn't happen. And of course, there are people that do like to live in that fantasy. But the thing about living in the past was it was going on. But it's just something that wasn't even talked about, very rarely to the therapist. And as I've said on this platform and Facebook and all over the places, that my days of going to AA meetings early on, I don't go to hardly any anymore, and I went to those and the codependence things like Al-Anon and adult children of alcoholics, and heard these stories. There were people my age who grew up they were kids in the 1950s and the 60s who actually did go through this, and some of whom suppressed the memories and covered it up with alcohol and drugs. And then, of course, the memories came back with sobriety. And, it wasn't like those big meetings. It was sort of like the small, more intimate, not so much of the step stomping kind of meetings, but sort of a little bit more of the free thinkers meetings where they could feel safe to share. So they were of all, I had a friend who grew up in the South, and she was born in the early 1930s. And this was something that went on, it was like real hillbilly gothic, with father, uncles, whatever, back in the 1940s. So this has been going on, but I think that the Epstein cult people, they want to go back to the days where, good old days had happened, but we didn't talk about it, and that there was no, paying the price for it so much. So people may think, oh, this is kind of tabloidish, salacious, but I think this whole thing with child predators is that it is one of the bigger illustrations of how rich people can really get away with this sort of thing. And then some poor slob that comes home from the mill and gets drunk and molests their kid, they're more like when they deserve to go to jail. But it isn't fair that, the wealthy and the connected don't. And this is what this is all coming out. Now, there was a bar I used to frequent a block away from where I lived in New York called the Grassroots on St. Mark's Place. And it was kind of like an NYU and young person sort of neighborhood, but kind of like the younger generation, not necessarily of the old alkies. So I remember in the stall of the ladies' room, there was a piece of graffiti. So if that bar is still there, I'm sure that's still there. And it goes, prostitution. Poverty creates it. Wealth maintains it. And I strongly believe that goes to the child predators too. Very telling was when Trump talked about, that poor young woman that ended up committing suicide, that's saying that Epstein stole her, which is saying that she was the property of Mar-a-Lago. And this goes back to the old thing of the poverty element of people, very, very young people that run away, that see that they get desperate. It's also impoverished, ignorant people kind of selling their kids to some rich person to, you get the picture. So this is I think what this is uncovering is a very, very deep societal problem that goes to really like the lowest kind of crime that there is. So I did make some notes because I really wanted to cover this, and seems like I have. So what I really want to, yes, I did. Okay. So I really want to go into, I think maybe the Democrats are a little bit fearful of their own being exposed, but I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. So I think that Newsom, this is where this is all connected. Newsom, by saying, hey, look, we cannot fight the gerrymandering from the other side. What the hell? We're going to do it ourselves. So this is related in that, if the shoe were on the other foot, and it would say like the Clinton administration, and it wasn't Monica Lewinsky, and it was like he was tied with Jeffrey Epstein a lot deeper than he is at this point. Anyway, they would have been just, how they would have been. So now it's time to, not that they want to imitate this behavior, but what I'm saying is that if the Republicans can drag people through the mud, so can the Democrats, although I would say the big difference has to be that they really need to have the proof. They can't just accuse like all this doo-doo that the Republicans are throwing against the wall to distract. It's not true, like Obama and this and that. Don't even want to give any of that energy. But I'm saying if we know, and it looks pretty credible about, what Trump has done over the years, that I would say that maybe some digging, even more digging, although it's kind of like bubbling up like the cesspool bubbling up from the sewer every day. So I don't think this should be treated with kid gloves, and I feel that the Governor Newsom, the squad in Congress, who I may not agree with them about everything, but we need that energy. Bernie Sanders, just dig it on up and expose them. And if some Democrats have to take the hit, so be it. We cannot have, we just cannot have these people. So let's see. I want to read about if this is going to be used by the Democrats in this very important election that we are having. And I think, yes, it will happen, because that other party's getting so weak and they're just not going to be able to fulfill their wet dream of, stopping an election. So I want to do some readings on that. And if anything else comes up, we'll see what happens. I know I've spent more time in the intro than I usually do, but I think these points are very, very important. And this isn't just a tabloid distraction. This is ruining lives that, as we used to call it, meetings, the gift that keeps on giving. And I think the one thing that I have to admire about these people I knew back then who shared is that that's their way saying, it stops with daddy and grandpa, because theirs went back for a generation. It ends with me. So I think it's very important, and it's like knowing Maxwell's history, not to give her an excuse, but to see this happening. If you see this happening with children, you know where to look and you know where to stop it. Because I'll tell you, I think people went through at the very least equal, if not more horrific stuff than she did, and yet they chose to get the therapy. And I even know one person who committed herself to a facility for a little while because she was really going bonkers. So but I knew people in the program that didn't, and that's a whole other story. They're the example of what happens when you don't address this. It continues. So it's very important. So I want to see, what are the Democrats going to do about this? And it'll probably be should be one reading. Okay, so I'm going to lower this this thing. Okay. So in the so for the before, okay. This is very interesting because if this is upright, these are the swords that are about to enter into the heart. And it's heartbreak, it's treachery, it's the traitor, but it is in reverse, which is about the swords are falling out. So this is very encouraging. It's also saying we're not going to keep the swords in the embedded in stone anymore. They are coming out and the truth needs to be told. So I think that although it seems what Newsom is doing is unrelated, it's kind of like saying, no, we're not going to take the so-called high road. I mean, I think that high road thing has been an illusion because it really isn't. It just comes to not fighting back. So in the after tarot, following up with that is, oh, here we go. The Knight of Cups. So this is in reverse. So in the after, he's if it's upright, he's done. He's having a drink. In this, it's kind of like it is not over. So I'm seeing that there could be some substance abuse too that is being uncovered, and this is very interesting. So then we have the Queen of Wands is the general energy. This is the female energy of, she's kind of a warrior. Well, the queens are, both she and the swords are. This is the inspiring, this is the women stepping up. This is, I see this as collective, but I'm seeing women in high places who may, I think this is kind of like a E. Jean Carroll who suffered her abuse as an adult, but also it's these women that are now grown up who were minors, they were kids. So this is the flame. They are lighting the flame that cannot be put out. This is what this is all about. So this is fire is not being put out. So the energy around this is the Gilded Tarot Royale is, oh, I swear, you saw me shuffle them. Sometimes they get this. 8 of Swords in return. We are done playing the victim role. We are not going to be in the self-imposed prison because, well, it's not entirely, because there were threats, and Maxwell was just as much a part of this as the male players in this. So we are not going to be victims anymore. The blindfold is coming off. We don't care, because I'm telling you, they're coming out of the woodwork saying, this is how we get out of victimhood. Because some of these ladies they've been bribed, threatened, whatever, and they have kept silent. So it's like when I going back to Lena Rodriguez earlier in the year, which she says, courage is contagious. This is what's happening. This is what, and if these women have the courage, I think part of the problem with the Democrats is that they have been fearful. Republicans have been fearful because of Taco Tits, as the ladies call him, and maybe starting to see him weak with this cognitive decline. They're starting to see the weakness. He's not quite as threatening. So underlying all of this, we have in the past the worry, the worry and the fear of coming out. I think the key to this is that the Democrats are not going to have a choice. They're not going to have a choice in this matter. So this is the word of these women. This is like real woman power stuff. Back then it would have been girl power, but now, and then we have really deep, dark secrets coming out with the moon in reverse. They're down this path. There is no going, and there's some very, very ugly things that are starting to be revealed. I always think when I'm making these videos, it's like, oh my God, what'll happen when I flip it back on? Okay, so the King of Pentacles, this is the very strong male. A new Pentacles would have to come up because it's the money. I would say, see, the upright King of Pentacles has been a strong male with good financial, a background. He made himself from nothing, shopped at the Goodwill store and made it look beautiful when he got out of school and all this sort of thing. What this is telling me is that there is someone in high places that is following the money, because money is key to all of this. There's hush money, as we found out with this Stormy Daniels thing. So this person is slowly and diligently, if he were to go on TV and be interviewed, it would put us to sleep with the digging that's quite tedious and boring that has to be done, but he does it slowly but surely. That's what a lot of these court cards, they get things done. Uncovering. See, with the money is uncovering the deep, dark dirties. And believe me, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg yet. I think it's getting to the point where the Democrats they're not going to have a choice but to run with it. And if some of them, as I've said before, if this happened going probably back to the 80s or the early 90s at the very least, the statute of limitations unfortunately has passed, but people's reputations and their legacy will be ruined. So in opposition of this, we have, we have the woman here, and opposing her is the perpetrator who thought that he would get away with it, but there's too much coming at him, and he doesn't have an escape, because if he backs off, he goes out that window. And wait a minute. This guy look at this. Put a little bit more eyeliner on him, and we've got J.D. Vance. This could be, there's like a whole lot of meaning going on in this. This could be that J.D. Vance may not be the shoe, and he's booed. He was booed in the most blood-red states. Anywhere he goes, he's absolutely hated. Even if he were to become president, I don't think he could handle it. But Sterling and some of the others think that they see from their guides and whoever that the whole administration is going to fall, because I keep seeing like chain links kind of thing, that this uncovering of this is going to lead to uncovering of other things, and I've seen that hinted with some of the other readers. Okay, so in the conscious thoughts we have the Page of Swords. So this is a young person, new beginnings. He's upright. So on the conscious level, they're thinking about that there is some new information that's going to be coming out. And it could be presented by a young whistleblower. Maybe some cabana boy at Mar-a-Lago that saw a few things. It's going to be maybe someone in a lower position. I can tell you from working at a hotel, and you get these people like the houseman that set up the rooms, and room service and all kind of room attendants, all in housekeeping. They may be invisible, but they see a lot of shit. I am telling you. They used to bend my ear with some juicy tales about celebrities, and so these little people are the ones that have the information. It's like the banquet bartender that had the hot phone on to Mitt Romney that pretty much tanked his It didn't help him, I will say that. So it could be some of the little people around him that they hear things because they are seen as invisible. Trust me, I know. Having been a banquet server, I have been there. They only notice you if they want to be Karens and complain about something. Okay, so on the unconscious level, we have the Knight of Wands, Knight of Wands in reverse. So this is some very, very nasty kind of villainous people that may want to burn, that may be wanting to burn this down because they're afraid of who's going to be revealed. But it is the fire that is going to fizzle out. And so what many of the perpetrators of this are fearing is their dirty little secrets being revealed, and it's kind of putting out their fire because maybe if they say too much it'll. So that's on the subconscious level with those opposing revealing this. So we have that. And okay, in the past, lots of Knight of Pentacles. Okay, in reverse. So in his upright position, he has just gotten his assignment and he is ready to move. But what this tells me, I do like the interpretation I've heard that I've kind of picked up on because it resonates, is that this is the mercenary. He'll do anything for money. The mercenary soldier, which I'm going to say could be some MAGA people in Congress that may be have been getting their palms greased, I am sure. But what this is showing me is that that's not a very reliable source for people keeping their mouths shut or voting the way you want to. So this is not only the mercenary, but it's so like rotten underneath that it's like rotten roots. It will not sustain the tree. So this is what's been going on in the past. So right now we have, again, we have the King of Pentacles. Someone is counting up the money. Someone is gathering up the money, because this is the journey of the King of Pentacles, as I say, is from humble beginnings. So they're going back to the humble beginnings. And I think it may be someone, I don't know why, I feel like a guy just told me, maybe someone on the finance committee in the Senate that's, that's working a little bit on their own time, that's been doing some digging with some other things, but may connect it to all of this. I would say that there's something that is going to be burning under the Democrats' behinds to say, hey, we've got this ball and we are going to run with it. So in the not too distant future, we have letting go of holding on to all the old bullshit that they've hung. Oh, we're not going to be like that. Well, okay, the line of that can be thin. I'm going to say that sort of thing that we're all tired of with the old guard and, with the Chuck Schumers and Nancy Pelosi's and that sort of thing, is that the others are saying, we got to let go of the old ways. It isn't working. This is gold, and it will do a lot of good to reveal it anyway. So this is what, and I'm telling you, instead, if you want to, don't do the it's an old person thing, because look at Bernie Sanders and some other people that are younger than he is, but he's earlier than the boomers, but there are some boomers in his circle that are also saying, enough of this old, let's just be nicey nice. So I say, not to lie, to tell the truth, but do not be afraid to let the truth out. So going a little further into the future, here we go. The High Priestess. in reverse. So in the after tarot, this just doesn't look that different than the regular. Okay, so in the after tarot, which goes into the future, more secrets tumbling out. So I think that the meaning of her upright is, I think my day is done, pretty much. But in reverse, it's saying, no, I'd like it to be done, but it isn't, because there is more tumbling out. I mean, I can't even keep up with those videos anymore. So going out a little bit further into the future as far as the Dems go. Okay. The Fool. This is a great after tarot, because this is the Fool having taken a leap. Something went wrong, but he's holding on to the cliff, and it looks like that dog is ready to, which is usually the spirit guide, that dog is getting ready to pull him back up and say, let us try this again. So what this may be is there might be a little bit of a setback, and saying you didn't put your legs in the right position or your arms, but this, but they're spiritually, someone has their backs, and we're just going to do it again, because you tried to jump off doing it the old way. That doesn't work. I'm going to get you back up here, and we're going to do it again. So I think this is for the ones that there may be a little bit of a, and actually he's not that far off the ground in this one. Well, no, he is actually. Okay, so in the hopes and the fears of the Democrats doing this, we have the High Priestess upright. You know what this is saying? Spiritually, they're on track. She is funny because she's in reverse here. Spiritually, they are on track, and there will be the hopes that they are going to be finding out more things that'll be helpful, but also the fear that their house may not be in order. But I'll tell you, I think they're going to be far more Republicans, especially those Bible thumpers. They're like super repressed. But if you go into their closet, they're kind of deviant. That it leads to deviant sexuality, just like the church stuff. And it's not only the Catholics. See, this is a point I need to make. The High Priestess is upright. She's about not being of any religion. I've heard that, and I think it's true, she's the most Jewish card, because in the regular deck she's got the Torah and the Kabbalah, Tree of Life. But it's not only that. She's wearing the cross of not Christianity, but of the sun, the pagan sun symbol. And she's got other things around her that suggest other spiritual practices. It's funny because Christianity is not stressed. It's like the most mainstream is the Judaism. But anyway, she embraces all different faiths. So spiritually, as the Dems move on, they've got to embrace all the different possibilities. And see, she's really open. I like this one because she's very, very, very open. And to know that they've got to shine the light onto the dark pillar. That's very big in the tarot. Got to shine that light on that. And if it shines on some of their own, they don't need them anyway. And I do agree that they should put out a statement saying, if you have participated in this in any way at all, go away. We don't need you or want you. Don't speak at any Democratic functions or go out and give speeches. We do not want to hear from you. Just go fade. Take the consequences. If you're out of the statute of limitations, just fade into your consequences and do not represent us. I I think they're moving towards that. But even with the fear of uncovering some of their own. So this is incredibly important. So since this is going to be the only reading I'm going to do on this, I'm going to go into the at this point how the Democrats see themselves in this whole thing coming to light and how they use it. How do they see themselves? It's the give and it's the take. And it's the, you give us the information, we will help you out. It's also helping the disadvantaged. So in this Six of Pentacles, I'm seeing that they are encouraging the victims of this child trafficking thing. And now it's coming out that Mar-a-Lago could have been one of the ground zeros. I believe there were a number of locations. And it could also, and I'm not taking it, if it were reverse, it's bribe, but it's upright. It's not about, oh, we're going to pay you to testify. This is like, they're going to start presenting more bills in Congress, protecting some of these people and giving some of these boys and girls some resources of recovery and maybe having to leave toxic families. So that what this is telling me is that as they hear the stories, they are going to propose the legislation. And I'm going to tell you, and this is how other people are seeing that they could be a benefactor in some way. And I'll tell you, the Republicans voted down, that they're going to look really bad, because this is getting to be a very emotional thing. This is children. So this is how they see themselves. This is how they see themselves. I'm seeing they're kind of evolving. This may be this whole Lionsgate thing, which I'm going to get into in my August thing. How others see them right now. This could change. Well, this goes to Jennifer and Angie and Pumps, or Pumps and Angie, or forget the IHIP. Is it the Ace, the Knight of Swords in reverse? Is other people are saying at this point they're not getting the message out. They really need to get the message out now. Where I kind of parted ways is they did spend, well, not exactly, but they really spent a lot of time saying they could have used this, they could have, should have, would have. And I think that maybe that needs to be addressed briefly, but we do not have the luxury of living in this energy. So it's saying, okay, you didn't talk about this, you really need to talk about this. So there is a valid thing, like they need to get the message out. And I think the fact is, going back to the early readings, like maybe maybe it was back in March or April or something, when I talked about Bernie and Alexandria going, and some of the others, Adam, all the others, going out and getting audiences in, because they're great communicators. This is going to lead them going out and doing this. And I think it will grow. But what I'm seeing is that it's going to be, as I said, Bernie of Wands, the inspiring king, that will definitely be going out, and the others are going to have no choice but to. But right now, they need to get on that horse with that sword. And so I want to do a conclusion of this. This is a very big burden, and it is not only, attached to Jeffrey Epstein, but I think that this is like the big bag of dominoes that we have been carrying around, and it's not only the United States. What I've been saying is that they've gone abroad with this. They've brought in people they've brought in children from other countries. And that this is a very big burden that the world has been carrying, and this could very well be the spilling of the dominoes. But In a sense, we have to, the United States is largely responsible for this monster being in the White House. So in a way, even those that did not vote for him, we've really got to make an effort to say that we're not all on board with this, and we have got to loosen up this burden. I think Americans really need to take the lead in this, because we put him there. But in a sense, I've heard people saying, well, how could the universe allow him to be elected? Well, maybe if it's to unravel all of this with all the harm that he's done, which could be undone, which will take time, is that maybe that all of this coming to light. I don't know that it would have had he not been, or so-called elected. And I hate that he is, but the universe works in a very funny way. So I just want to take a little bit more of a look at this. Had a couple of, interesting wands. Wands have been period. This is telling me this is going to catch fire now with this burden. And I think the Republicans are going to be carrying a lot of this burden. They're going to have to explain this on their extended summer holiday. And trust me, they are fighting. MAGA's fighting with QAnon. We're fighting with your daddy's Republican. All of this. A lot of infighting and blaming. This is to be unavoided. Hopefully the Democrats, and I think they will, they need to smell that blood in the water and jump all over that. So then we have the downfall of those that have been robbing us and cheating us and all this other thing. And this is also some of the MAGAs and QAnons drifting away. But this is very encouraging. This is very encouraging. And then we have, the Queen of Cups. The Democrats are going to be forced to do some real introspection because they're at home talking to their constituents. And what I'm seeing with the Queen of Cups, it's like having the compassion for the children because she is a mother figure, but they have to have the courage to take the lid off of that cup and see all the awful stuff that comes out of it. And I believe that this is going to happen. So what all the cards are saying is that they are really going to have no choice. They are going to have no choice. They will be taking advantage of this, and I think that people like Newsom and Bernie and all of the others are going to they're going to take the lead, and it's going to become contagious, because this is about the worst that's done to children. And I think that's international. I think the Russians are involved. Every country is involved in this. So at any rate, I'm going to leave you for now, and we're not done with this topic. So I will going to, because I did promise my friends on Facebook, I do need to do the August forecast. So I'm going to sign off for now. So take care and bye.